You walk outside, maybe to get the mail, maybe to check on something in the yard. A small animal is there, a bird, a rabbit, a squirrel. And the moment it registers you, it runs. It always runs. You've seen this 10,000 times. You've never thought about it. But that reaction, that instant, electric retreat, is one of the most precise pieces of biological data ever recorded about your species. And what it reveals is not flattering. What it reveals is something that took scientists until the late 20th century to begin measuring properly. And what they found is stranger than anything most people expect. In 1999, Joel Berger, a wildlife biologist at the Wildlife Conservation Society in Montana, spent 4 years tracking moose, bison, and pronghorn antelope across the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. He wasn't studying animal behavior in the abstract. He was testing a specific question. Do large mammals know how to fear what they've never encountered? His answer, published in Science in 1999, was definitive. Animals that had lived for generations without wolves, without large predators, without any real threat, they still froze when Berger played recordings of predator sounds. But they did not flee. Not automatically. The fear had to be learned. It had to be taught. And yet, when Berger walked toward those same animals on foot, without a weapon, without a sound, they ran before he came within 40 meters. They had never learned to fear wolves, but they already knew to fear him. That is not a learned response. That is something older. The science of animal fear responses to humans has a name now. Researchers call it the landscape of fear, a term coined by ecologist Joel Brown at the University of Illinois at Chicago in 1999, describing the way prey animals mentally map zones of risk across an entire terrain. And in every study that has placed humans inside that map, humans occupy a category that no other species fully occupies. Not wolves, not lions, not even fire. In 2019, a team of researchers led by Chris Darramont at the University of Victoria in British Columbia published data from 39 different species across 5 continents. They played audio recordings of lions, leopards, hunting dogs, and humans speaking in calm, ordinary conversation to animals in their natural habitats. The animals fled from lions at a consistent rate. They fled from the sound of calm human voices at twice that rate. Twice, not from screaming, not from gunshots, from a quiet human voice. The researchers described this finding as evidence that humans have become, in the biological sense, what they called a super predator. Not because of any physical attribute, but because of something we did over a period of roughly 300,000 years that fundamentally altered how every other large animal on Earth processes our presence. And here is the part that most people have never been told. For the vast majority of human prehistory, animals did not fear us at all. This is not speculation. It is geological record. When early humans arrived on new continents, the Americas approximately 13,000 years ago, Madagascar roughly 2,000 years ago, New Zealand around 700 years ago, the animals they encountered showed no fear response. Moa birds, giant sloths, woolly mammoths, the island megafauna of Madagascar. Researchers like Paul Martin at the University of Arizona documented this pattern across decades of fossil evidence. Within centuries of first human contact, 80 to 90% of large animal species on each newly contacted landmass disappeared entirely. They didn't run, they had never learned to, they stood there. What happened next is what burned the fear into the genetic memory of every surviving species across the planet. What happened was so systematic, so consistent, so geographically total that biologists now have a formal term for it: the Pleistocene overkill. And the animals that survived were the ones that ran first, not the strongest, not the fastest, the ones that ran soonest. This is where the assumption most people carry quietly falls apart. If you've been watching this and thinking, even faintly, even without naming it, that animal fear of humans is a sad byproduct of habitat destruction, of industrialization, of something humans did wrong in the modern era, that assumption is incorrect. The fear is not modern. The fear is not a response to guns or cities or deforestation. The fear predates every one of those things by thousands of years. The fear is the oldest accurate memory any species has of us. It began before written language, before agriculture, before any civilization. The animals that are alive today, every bird that flies from your footstep, every deer that disappears into the tree line, every small creature that goes still the moment you appear, they carry within their nervous systems a record of what we were before we built anything, before we decided we were something different. In 2010, Liana Zanette at Western University in Canada published a study demonstrating that fear alone, the mere recorded sound of a predator, played without any predator present, caused prey animals to reduce their reproduction rates by 40% over a single season. The fear itself was biologically costly, and still, it persisted. Because the cost of not fearing was extinction. Every animal you will ever see in a natural space has passed through that filter. Their ancestors met our ancestors. And the ones standing in front of you today are the direct descendants of the ones who ran. There is a word researchers use in behavioral ecology, neophobia. Fear of the new. Animals fear novel stimuli because novelty correlates with danger in wild environments. But human presence is not novel to most species anymore. We have existed alongside them for hundreds of thousands of years. The fear is not new. It is the oldest information they carry. You step outside. A bird lifts from a fence post and crosses the sky in silence. You didn't threaten it. You didn't move toward it. You simply appeared. And something in it, something without language, without thought as we understand thought, calculated the distance between your body and itself, and decided that the margin was not large enough. That margin, the invisible line an animal keeps between itself and you, has a name in field biology. Researchers call it the flight initiation distance. It varies by species. It varies by location. But in every study, for every species, across every continent where humans are present, that distance is non-zero. There is no animal on Earth that has been around humans long enough to stop keeping it. You walk to your window now, look out at whatever is there, a yard, a street, a patch of sky where birds cross. Whatever moves out there moves in a world permanently shaped by what we are, not what we did to the land, not what we built, what we are, what we have always been. The animals learned it before we knew it about ourselves. We still haven't fully accepted it. And the distance they keep from you, that precise, calibrated, unspoken gap, is the only honest record that remains of the thing we were before we decided we were something else.